Greetings, listeners and viewers. Your host for the night, Zach, here, introducing you to The Call 1973, the Call of Cthulhu podcast by Twisted Gears Studios. Welcome to our first Call spin-off. Over the next 6 months, join a team of investigators as they explore an abandoned hospital in the Vietnam region at the height of the conflict. This was recorded over a year ago, so many of the learnings over the past year from recording The Call you will not see or notice here in this show. You won't see any inclusion of luck or penalty dice. However, Derek will be showing off a set of dice made by our friends over at Divine Soul Dice. You can actually see them displayed here. It's a full set of 7 dice with an actual prism-shaped D4 and a large D20 in addition to a standard size D20. There'll be close-ups of these later in the episode. They were custom resin, inspired by the actual story that you were about to see, and Derek worked in collaboration with our friends over at Divine Soul Dice to get these made so he can use and abuse them and abuse us during this game. Speaking of all that stuff, as of today, our Ko-fi has undergone some changes. You will now find that there are 3 subscription tiers. Please click the video linked below for an in-depth overview as to what that all looks like. For each month that you are in the Creative Collaborator tier, your name will go into a draw. At the end of the arc, I will draw the winner at the end of the episode finale. We will get your info to send the dice to you, the exact dice that Derek used during the game. So thank you, Divine Soul Dice, for the custom 1973 inspired resin dice set. Speaking of merch, our shop is changing homes, items, and locations soon. Not sure if the items that are currently available will be staying, so if you want to ensure you grab whatever's on the site before it is gone, now will be your chance. And finally, before we begin, the next few months are set up for us to get caught up on all the content we fell behind on from lockdown. Yes, we were very ahead on our planning back then. As of this month, Derek, myself, and members of the team will be holding live commentaries on Discord of some of the previously aired episodes. So go check out that Ko-fi subscription video for info on how to participate in that. The first episode that we'll be commentarying on is the very first episode of The Call, Swill's Gullet. But for now, please join us in the world of The Call 1973.
Hello, everybody.
Wow. My name is Awkward Derek. It's borderline. Hello, y'all. Like,
Are y'all fucking done yet? You want to dig in a little bit more there?
no, sorry.
We have so much respect for our game master.
Yeah.
Don't say it like in that style. This can all be kept in, Zach. This is what I put up with. So, this is our arc for Delta Green, of course. Where it came from was, I believe, a while ago, months and months ago, we had discussed the idea of doing a radio play. I believe it was Zach. Radio play for the Call 1973. Upon getting the Delta Green rule set, though, who doesn't love a little Delta Green, decided to convert it into an actual arc of a game. So,
I get to actually have a character.
Amos is a character.
No, I mean, originally we were doing this, I was just going to be doing odd voice stories, so I wasn't going to have any involvement in it whatsoever.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, yes, now you get to play into it. So I have came up with what I feel is an interesting scenario. My players are usually a little bit scared when I say interesting. So we'll see how it all goes. I'm hoping it works out well.
We're all going to die.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a newer... This version of the system is a little bit newer to me. I played a lot of the older Delta Green. So this system is tweaked a little differently, so just bear with me as we go through everything, and, although we'll probably cut out when I take forever to figure something out.
If I don't like you that day, I might just leave it in.
So I hope everyone enjoys what we have put together for this, because I'm really looking forward to messing these people up. Just off the start, I'm going to bring up this little box here. This is from Divine Soul Dice at divinesouldice.com, who kindly has given some dice, and there will be better pictures and stuff.
I'm going to take some photos. I'm going to post them all over the place. You'll see them right around here.
These are the dice that I'm going to be using as the handler, which is what it's known as in this game. The handler. During this game. For their own. It has a little dice bag in the bottom too. Once again, that's divinesouldice.com. Thanks a lot. They are fantastic looking.
Half of my dice are from there. Now.
Yeah, you have quite the collection of dice. I still use dice from like 30 years ago.
All 3 of the sets in front of me are all from her. Those are so cool.
I have my one that I got from her.
Banana pudding.
Banana pudding.
I gotta post a photo of
I have
all my
flags
dice.
and brains.
That actually tracks that you get that.
So, I'm going to go into a little bit of information about this Delta Green mission that all of these wonderful players are going to go on, and then they're going to describe their characters. Actually, no, we're going to do the description of the characters first, and then when I'm describing what the mission is, it'll sort of make a bit more sense. We're going to start off with Patricia Benton, also known as Trish, which is Janessa Cole's character.
Yes. She's going to be a little bit different than the last one I played. Well, maybe similar personality because I can't help myself. But, so Trish I'm playing a Marine Sergeant from the U.S. Marine Corps. I am American. I am a good old American girl. And she's very much a patriot. When my inspiration for the visual for this character was the movie Alien and the Marines that are in there. That was very much my visual inspiration for this character. She's got short pixie cut hair, dark short hair. She's very fit. She's not a super serious person. She's very much that work hard, play hard sort of person.
Similar to yourself?
Similar to myself. Yeah, yes, similar to myself. So, and she's going to be the heavy artillery for this adventure.
Yes, we have described the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to move over to Liz, who's, I have everyone's names wrote down here. For their characters, I know their actual names, but it's Carolyn R. Harrison.
Yes. Carolyn is a nurse, formerly with the U.S. military. Spent some time in Vietnam as a general nurse and then at a more specialized field hospital. She is currently just working at a normal hospital stateside in Ohio. She has left the military, but something unusual happened while she was there, and she's interested in finding out what was behind it.
Oh, yes. Creepy. We're going to move on to a Daniel J. Halbrecht.
What up?
Hey.
What's my character's rank? We never talked about that.
Oh, man, you're an FBI agent.
Do they not have ranks in the FBI?
None that anyone else would care about.
Oh, yeah, I guess they just say agent, don't they?
You're an agent.
Yeah, that's
Special
right.
agent.
Special agent.
Daniel J.
Yeah,
Halbrecht.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
So the visual design for this character is the main character from Hannibal. He's a criminologist by nature. He's new. He's very twiggy. Obviously, he's physically fit enough to have passed all the tests to Quantico, but definitely has not stepped foot in a gym since. Bookie has spent most of his time going into like grisly crime scenes to try and figure out the why, the who, and the where of the person that's done it. So for a mission like this, that's overseas, makes a lot of sense to send someone that could probably stomach a lot of the things going on overseas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every mission needs a control.
So he's mildly unsettling because I'm not sure if he's sociopathic or not. We're gonna figure that out.
Self-discovery.
I'm staring into the camera. And we're going to move on to a Virginia Eakley.
Yes.
Correct? Also known as Ginny.
Ginny.
Go
That's
ahead.
right.
Cute! Sorry. That was
That's fine. For her description, I would equate her to Christine Chapel from the original Star Trek. She was the nurse.
nice.
Nurse
Nurse
Chapel.
Chapel?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't kill you now. I love her.
I can't kill you now.
So as I said, she's definitely. She definitely is the visual representation. Actually, also even probably personality-wise too. Mm-hmm. She's very capable, but she's got her feminine wiles about her too. So basically, my character is a graduate from the Boston University of Medicine. I am a scientist that is specializing in chemistry, but is also proficient in biology and botany. I became part of the DoD, which is the Department of Defense, because I worked for Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland to study non-lethal chemical warfare. So,
Damn.
yeah, that's basically
Holy
my
shit.
character.
Stuff to play with.
I'm sure that won't come up at all.
And we're going to move on to a new player that we're introducing because we have the core four that you might have seen in the call. If you haven't listened/watched it, do that. We have Scott,
Hello.
and he's playing a Mick Quilty. Canadian.
The Canadian.
The Canadian.
Yeah, the rest of us are all Americans.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I probably should have said that. I'm also American.
Yeah.
We're all-
So
You don't work for the DoD if you're not.
That's right.
I'll be honest here. Like when we were making the characters and everything, the first thing that came to mind was Launchpad McQuack. Like
Lord Almighty.
so, it was one of those things that you know the pilot was offered, and I was like, yes, I got to do this. So, Mick, he's a pretty average guy. He grew up in the Canadian more rural areas and stuff
Yes.
like that. Grew up. He got into flight and everything because it was something for forestry and like going over and
100%.
checking out that kind of stuff. He's definitely. How do I describe him? I'll read out some notes. He's 6 foot. He's 200 pounds. Short brown hair. Glorious mutton chops.
Oh, I can't kill him yet either. You're all screwed.
That's fair. That's fair.
And to show off his cleft chin,
Ah, yes, yes.
he has broad chest and shoulders, and usually wears the aviator jacket, the brown
Yeah,
leather with
bomber
the
jacket.
fur. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Y'all, you two over there, I'm 100% certain this is a false sense of security he's laying for you guys. You're the first to go.
You can't kill Launchpad.
All of our
Yes.
non-Canadian
You
listeners,
kill him, we all die.
and viewers right now are Googling Launchpad McQuack.
Oh, they know about
No, that's what
Launchpad
Disney-
I was gonna say.
McQuack. It's Disney.
Well, see,
Scrooge, baby, Scrooge.
Launchpad
leave me
quack.
alone.
DuckTales, woo.
Remember when she said works hard but parties harder? Janessa's kind of suffering from something.
Listen,
there.
if
How you
Well,
feeling? How you
let's
feeling?
not take away from
I'm
Scott.
sorry.
There was there
Yeah.
anything else about your? I know he's also an avid hunter and stuff like that.
Yes, he because he grew up in rural areas, his father was very much into hunting and fishing, like being out in the wilds and stuff like that. So even being a bit of a guide was something his father did growing up. So he kind of took to the trade. He's relatively easygoing guy. He's not hard ass or anything like that. So.
Laid back, chill.
Yeah.
I
with
believe
those
you also
much-ups.
said he was into murder mystery classics like Agatha Christie and
Yes,
stuff like that.
yeah, he's definitely
What
into
is
those
this?
novels.
See, I'm liking. See, I like that everyone's such the Canadian. I like it. I like
That's
it.
his nickname.
Let's see how this all goes for everybody. I'm going to give a little bit of a rundown, sort of like an intro into what I'm thinking. Me and Zach went over notes of how we were going to do radio play, and I used some and threw some out the window, and just tried to make a story that could be a bit of fun. As long as nobody starts throwing machete at people with sticks of dynamite leaking nitroglycerin in their pocket, we should be good. Although Trish does
Did I-
have a machete.
I do have a machete.
Why?
Because
Why?
Because I could.
But why?
It's the heavy. Listen,
That doesn't.
listen. My throw skill is much better this time around.
It
Is it-
says there's no throw skill in
Here's the-
Delta. That's
I was gonna say,
fantastic.
100%'s 100%. I don't know how skilled you are to.
Okay.
Oh God, we're gonna die.
Anyway.
Okay. Also, to be clear to the listeners and the viewers, that I've also taken some characters aside and given them a little bit more information about maybe why they're here and stuff like that. And maybe that'll come up in gameplay. Maybe they'll die before that happens. We'll see. So I'm going to go a little bit of what happened in the past to bring this group together for this particular mission. Okay? So basically, Carolyn R. Harrison was in the military and was a nurse at a field hospital in Vietnam during, of course, the Vietnam War. Pre-Tet Offensive, if anyone's familiar, it happened in 1968, specifically around January 30th, 1968. Where the Tet Offensive, where a lot of soldiers had swept into a lot of villages and towns, caused some havoc, even though it was considered historically to be quite a failure on the whatever way you want to look at it. I still know the name of it, which means it was quite pronounced that it happened, right? It's the Tet Offensive is one of those things. The Tet Offensive historically is also what really turned historians and stuff who look at it was a turning point for the U.S. public view on the war. And then we got into a lot of the turning against it. And I mean, this is not a political podcast or anything, but I'm just trying to lay out the information as it's seen. So it's quite an important aspect that happened. Now, at some point working in a field hospital in an area in Vietnam, Carolyn R. Harrison was promoted, if you will, or moved to a more specialized treatment center. It was a military treatment hospital, which is falls under the designation MTF 0087, which is a medical treatment facility. 0087 was the numerical designation. Okay, there's a lot of things set up this way. But that's just how I'm referring to was the hospital you're working at. Just outside the hospital, a few hours journey, but like a main area to travel to it, because for some reason this hospital was secluded from a lot of other urban areas and stuff like that. It was really strange that it would be in this location. And the village was an Agrovylle. Just very clear, Agroville's the French in the 1950s to try to go against people turning toward communism and such like that, created these communities that they designated as Agrovilles. And Agrovilles were they were hoping that, I mean, peasants is the wrong word, but the people that were living in Vietnam would move into these cities and sort of stop them from turning to communism through prosperity. You know, look at these well-made houses. Look, there's a water supply. You should live here. Come here. And this is what this settlement was. French were deeply involved in that in the 50s. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was around 54. That's when it really took off. Anyway, I tried to do a bit of research for how I wanted to lay this out. The Agrovylle designation village was P888. 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 I'm not sure if this is how I do notes, people, is I try to lay down specifics to an outline, and then I see what happens. So I know the name of the village. It doesn't have a name, really. It has a designation. Very Delta Green of us. So basically, as the Tet Offensive swept in, it did sweep into this area, and this hospital had to be abandoned. With the sound of mortars and tracer fire filling the sky, strange flashing as a storm rolled in. This sense of panic and fear, which Carolyn would have felt being the only member of the team that was there at the time. There was a huge offensive that swept in. You were pretty much, it's almost a blur to you now as you're swept out in MLs. You ever see those military vehicles? They're like big covered wagons, and there's the seats in the back, and you hop in the back. A lot of people were swept into that, traveled to the settlement itself, where there is a landing strip, and you were flown out on, anything that was available, is the real point. Not everybody got out, is a telling point. And I remember reading your backstory. We don't need to get into it so much. Yeah. But you had some names of people who potentially had died there and had not made it out. Yeah. And also a good friend of yours, Phyllis Donovan, who was also a nurse who did make it out. Made it out and is still a friend of yours stateside. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So basically, some got out, most did not. Now, a little bit of more information that I need to throw out there that's sort of like baseline information of what Carolyn may know. Something that you do know, even though it is a bit of a blur and there's a lot of trauma involved in what happened there, is during your stay in that hospital, some of the... how do I put it, the hardest cases, the issues that people that need to be worked on right away. It was a very secluded area. This is where you were brought. Where not you were brought, but where they were brought to be worked on. A lot of amputations, a lot of amputation care, I should say. It seemed to be away from the front line, or at least hidden from anything else. I mean, you did run across, there was some weird things that happened in the hospital. During the last few months, so I guess the last 3 or 4 months before the offensive caused the evacuation, there was a lot of soldiers with mental health that were brought here. And there was specialty treatment that was applied that you're not really aware of, because because it was a specialized hospital for doing things, you really didn't know what it was really there for, because each area was kept separate, right? It was almost like this compartmentalization of different things. There were definitely restricted areas, definitely weird noises at night, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mysterious illnesses, and there was just basically a lot of doctors and nurses and stuff around this area, but you weren't really allowed to fraternize. Right? And that's the thing. People coming in with just really debilitating effects that you're not really sure, almost like they were affected by chemical warfare or something, lungs being destroyed, flesh, necrosis of the flesh, stuff like that. People in intense amounts of pain. Yeah, fair enough. And whenever certain of these cases came in, they were always regulated or moved toward the more specialized parts of the hospital, the restricted areas which you weren't involved in. There was many times a patient would be moved out of nowhere, and then never seen again, by the way. Like, in your viewpoint. But, I mean, it was war.
Yeah.
Right? You were trying to help people. Okay? And that's how that works. So you get back to stateside. Shortly after the Tet Offensive, you know what I mean? You went back shortly after that, once all the evacuation happened. And there was a number of people. I can't give you an exact count because you wouldn't have known the exact count of people that got it when you factor in, like custodians, other medical staff, soldiers. You're not entirely sure. So you've been back stateside for 5 years.
Yeah.
Give or take. Because we call it the Call 73, it takes place in 1973, which in January of 1973 is when the Paris Peace Accords happened and the U.S. military started pulling out of Vietnam in the January. Even though that armistice did not last long amongst the people that were remaining. Yeah. That could be the whole... There's documentaries out there, I'm sure. I'm sure there are. So what's happened is you have all been contacted and brought together for a special mission within the government, okay? There needed to be quite a successful pilot, or a pilot used to landing in hard places and stuff like that. And this is where Mick Quilty comes in. He was approached by the American government, through the Canadian government as well. He is Canadian. And he is basically a contractor. He's not a government agent. He's not connected to stuff like that. But basically, as you know, your role is to get people in safely and hopefully get them out. And if you can't get them out, I mean, you can talk about it with your friends over some Molson Canadian. So
that's your go-to. Oh.
Black Horse, baby. Black Horse is the go-to.
No. Oh, God. Oh.
Anyway. It's not really the go-to. A lot of bad memories. So that's what's bringing you to this. It's going to feel a little bit loose because, like I said, I haven't ran Delta Green this version before, but I'm just trying to keep it together here. And then we have a scientist, Virginia Ginny. I'm just going to go with Ginny from now on.
That's fine.
Who worked with who is in the DoD.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to know exactly which department in the DoD you're in, because that isn't important to the mission. You're on this mission because, because of all the weird things that had happened there prior to the Tet Offensive, And for some reason, where it's one of those things where they don't have to tell you why they want certain things, but you're being sent in, being chemistry, biology, and botany, to track down any data at the hospital to do with what kind of research was happening there.
Right.
And to get that information back so it can be researched to see what it is, if at all. But that's why you're here, okay?
What was your last name again?
Eakley. Eakley.
Yep. Eakley.
Okay. If that makes sense. And of course, players can throw in. Now, Trish, you're brought in as the muscle. You had also been over in Vietnam, not in the same area as this, and not during the Tet Offensive. We don't need to get into it, but you were injured. You were sent stateside, and you've been back for a while. And you were called out of the blue by an officer you had known in the Corps who had suggested that there is a sort of a black ops or a secretive mission going into Vietnam during the pullout of the U.S. forces. January 1973, which is the dry season. You're not going there to snow people. It's Vietnam. It's, it's the heart of the dry season.
The Canadians disappointed.
The Canadian. Where's my snowshoes? And that's basically your role, is to, be the muscle.
Yep.
The fire support, the whatever way you want to look at it. But I mean, of course.
I'm the bodyguard.
You are the bodyguard.
What's your rank and last name?
Sergeant and Bettin, Bettin.
And then we're going to move on to Carolyn R. Harrison. Now, the reason that you've been tasked with this, not being like you were in the military, but you were approached by the U.S. government, by agents of the U.S. government, whom you're assuming FBI or in the DOD. It doesn't really matter who they were. You sat in an office with people with dark sunglasses and nice pressed suits who explained to you the need to go back to this hospital because, and they sort of let slip that strangely, nobody knows where that location is anymore. They can't seem to track it down. And it could have to do with the war at the time, and it could have to do with airspace issues, being able to get to certain areas at the time. But it seems to propel upon you that it's a matter of state security. That you need to go back with a team in order to track down where this location actually is, and to fly in to show them a way to the hospital, or for anything you can remember. Although, even though it's a bit fragmented in your mind, it's still okay.
I would have taken the path from the hospital to the village a few times
and stuff like that, right? Even though it is blurry because maybe a little bit of PTSD, maybe a little bit of other things.
Yes.
Who knows? And then we're going to get on to Daniel J. Halbrecht, DJ Halbrecht, or is it just preferred Daniel? DJ or Daniel?
If he was ever on a first name basis, DJ, but usually
Agent Halbrecht.
Agent Halbrecht.
Yeah, yes. Special Agent Halbrecht.
Unless another person mentions it, other than Halbrecht, no other part of his name is mentioned.
And the only thing that the rest of you know about Daniel J. Halbrecht when you meet him as you get onto the helicopter, the Huey, for anyone who's
nice.
Not overly familiar, I believe. Flying on a Huey, yeah. And for those little trivia buffs, the Vietnam War was the first time in warfare where a fuck ton of helicopters were used. Right?
That's a technical
Not
term.
a shit ton, a fuck ton.
An absolute fuck ton. And you're what I refer to in these type of mission settings as the control. Which means you are sort of in charge of the mission, making sure it falls within the parameters set up. You are an FBI agent, such like that. And you are in charge of the mission. Right? So you do have sort of a little bit of a dossier on each person, which really the dossier is laid out exactly as Dave described and a little bit of information you gave. There doesn't seem to be anything super out of the ordinary or anything like that. Okay? Right? And some other stuff I told you at the start. Yeah, Halbrecht. You all have your gear and everything else. Okay, so basically the goal is to travel by helicopter to Village Agrovylle designation P888, which is the settlement, with the information from Carolyn, who's going to get you to the village and then sort of lay out which direction or anything. Is that we're MTF0087, which
Yep.
I'll just call the hospital. From this point moving forward, the Packard Twin Six.
Oh, here we go.
No, I just had to say it once, and I will not say it again here. From there, you're going to travel into the jungle towards said hospital, find the research files or anything of interest about what specialty research or whatever was going on there. Like there has been some reports from other survivors who have came back from that as well, explaining, okay,
This is weird.
shit was weird,
Yeah.
right? And there was definitely some chemical weapons research done here, which is one of the reasons Ginny, well, you would also be, because you have knowledge of chemistry, and plus with, what was the name of the arsenal company?
Oh, it was called Edgewood Arsenal.
Edgewood?
Edgewood.
Yeah, Edgewood Arsenal, and being a specialist when it comes to chemical warfare. And
Non-lethal.
yes, but in order to make good non-lethal, you need to understand the lethal.
That's true.
And sometimes the non-lethal is still pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
Yes, it
It's not
is.
lethal
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yes, it is. So this is sort of like my little take on a session 0, even though we're going to jump right into playing.
Yeah.
But this gives this little bit of information that could be relevant. Yeah, so find research files, anything of interest, anything pertaining to the environment. Yeah.
You're a Dr. Eakley or Professor Eakley?
Scientist, so...
You would have your PhD in at least chemistry.
If you're
So
not
be
current,
doctor?
You could be a doctor.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you have enough of a chemistry that it would make sense that you would have at least a master's, but I'm okay with it being a PhD.
It doesn't matter. Dr. Eakley is fine
Yeah.
by me.
Ginny now.
Ginny.
Dr.
Dr.
Ginny.
Ginny.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ginny. Okay.
I'm a doctor. Okay, fair enough. So, you've all agreed to do this for a variety of different reasons, whether, mostly kept within, whether it's orders or whatever it is. Carolyn R. Harrison, I'm assuming you agreed to it, because if you didn't go, somebody else is probably going to have to go.
Yep.
And your only other friend nurse who was there was a Phyllis Donovan, and I mean, she has 2 kids.
Yeah, I don't want to pull her away from that.
Yeah. Now you haven't, of course, you talk to her every now and then, and you keep in touch, but
Send letters.
yes, that's true. That's true. Everyone remembers letters, right? I do. Unlike this electronic mail I keep hearing about.
Sweet Lord!
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Okay. So you are all separately flown over to a staging area. Technically outside of Vietnam. Okay, fair enough. And I'm just going to skim over the certain part where you all meet, because I don't feel that's overly important, because any conversations can sort of be in the helicopter, the Huey, if you will. And anyone who looks up Huey helicopter, if you Google that, you'll see exactly what I mean. Where you're all met onto this military base. You're not exactly sure where you are. It seems to be a fairly skeleton crew military base. It seems to be maybe a black site or something, maybe a location, but which is where everyone's going to fly out of. None of you have been there before, but this is where you all fly out of. Prior to this recording, I also told everyone the starting gear and stuff they have, so they can feel free while we're playing to bring up, hey, I'm going to use this, or what about this, or blah, 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 which makes sense. And then the next morning, you're shown your Huey. Now, part of Mick Quilty's agreement to do this work, especially because, what's the word for it when somebody, they don't care about you, and it doesn't matter what happens to you?
Apathetic?
Yeah, well, he's a contractor brought in to do this, so
Cannon
he's sort of on the, what?
Cannon fodder.
He's the...
Expendable.
Expendable. He is expendable. So there was a
Wow.
couple of conditions that McQuilty had for doing this, and one of which is he owns his own Huey. This is his Huey, and this is what is going to be taken in.
No longer
dear
expendable.
God. Right, with all the moose stickers,
Oh my god.
Sweet
A little library of
bottle
Antiquity
caps
Christie.
everywhere. Nah, it's just clean. It's a clean machine. It's a clean machine. I'm just going to refer to it as the Huey at any point. You can refer to it on whatever you'd call it, but I'm just going to refer to it as the Huey.
Are you going to give it a name?
Barbara.
Say Caroline.
No.
Beaver Caroline.
Yeah.
But I don't need to put you on the spot for that. If at any point you're just like, I'm going to go check this out, and people are like, what the fuck's that? That's the Huey. You can do whatever you want, or it's just called the Huey. It's completely up. So we're probably just going to, is everyone comfortable now? Just jumping into this said game.
Yeah.
We're starting on the helicopter?
You were going to start you on a helicopter because anything you discuss in the hangar or anything like that, basically you were all brought together, explained the roles for this mission that you have, and then you're brought over to Mick Quilty's helicopter. And I just like saying Mick Quilty. Well, let's say Mick. We'll just call you Mick from now on. Mr. Quilty. Esquire. Fair enough. And, fly out of the base, out over the jungle. Fortunate Son playing in the background.
Of course, every time.
We were listening to that earlier.
I had to put it on to get me in the right frame of mind. To get me in the right frame of mind, I was like,
fun.
oh yeah, CCR. Right, well, how many Vietnam movies and shows have you seen where they don't play Fortunate Son? Honestly.
That's a good point.
Honestly. It's the soundtrack. Pretty much. Okay. You're heading out for a bit. The helicopter door is slightly open. There's the slot, everyone's familiar with the Hueys. We've seen them all before. If you're not familiar, you can just look it up. Slightly open. You can have it closed. It is quite loud, but you're used to having, and you're sitting in front and you got your things on, doing your thing. It is quite foggy, cloud covered over the jungle. You believe that the timing of this was based on there being a lot of fog and cloud cover in order to stop mortar fire, anti-aircraft being shot up from the jungle at your heli. As you are traveling along, there is a little bit of, even though you're not, you're not as high as a plane, of course, you are a helicopter. It is also fairly windy, so there is a bit of a buffeting effect about the helicopter, but nothing you're worried about, Mr. Quilty. Nothing you're worried about. You've flown in much worse environments than this. And the rest of you, basically, there's bench seating. I'm doing this, but it should be, this is the front helicopter, this is the back, and there's there, so you're sitting this way. There is a lot of storage, little storage compartments and stuff around, which I've already informed you of the stuff that you do have. But there is definitely equipment and stuff hanging on hooks in here as well. You do see, can you roll me a luck roll, Mick?
First roll of the game. Don't fuck it up.
Now, one of the differences between luck in Delta Green and luck in the call, luck is a stat in the call that you can burn and stuff like that. Luck in Delta Green is a 50-50 chance. That's what it is. You're just rolling a luck check, but you get to decide whether 51 to 100 is good or 51 to 100 is bad before you roll.
And it's the 10-sided?
It's the 10-sided and also this percentile die with it. So before you roll, 51 and high, so high good or high bad.
High good.
High good. So the lower you roll, the worse it is. Let's go.
Yeah.
Look at this. Oh my God, get
Let's
away
get
from
that
those
1%
dice.
going.
Get it. You said high good?
Yeah.
76%?
Yeah.
Well done. Good roll. First roll of the game.
That has
Successful first roll.
We're not totally fucked.
Of course, because there are actually enough parachutes for everybody.
if that had been a
Was that the luck roll?
That was the luck roll to see if there was
Oh my
proper enough parachutes for everybody.
So if we roll, one of us could automatically be dead right away.
I never said the helicopter was going down.
I mean, if
Roll me another. No, it was just to make sure that there isn't
God.
that there
If
is
that
enough
had-
parachutes.
If that had been a 73, I feel like it would have been a good omen for us.
we're doing pretty good. Yeah.
76.
Now we're fucked. Oh my God.
Say that often enough,
Before
eventually
I
you'll be
actually
right.
move on, there's just one more thing I need to bring up. The red card I usually use for the call, I have misplaced it. It is somewhere I don't know. So for this game, when I want the players to finish what they're saying and then give me a chance to jump in with something, I'm going to hold up this little fella. I believe it's on brand. I believe it's on brand.
So basically, you're going to summon Cthulhu if you want us to be
To
quiet.
get us to shut up.
I know how
By
to
the
talk.
power of Cthulhu, shut the fuck up.
Okay, so I just want to go over that because at some point you're going to see me go like this, and you're going to be like, "He's bringing in Cthulhu." That's not what's happening
Not yet.
yet.
Oh.
Did you say no? You're a scientist. Come on.
You would look.
You would look.
You would look.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter what character you're.
It sounds like I'm a pervert of the cult.
Oh no!
Yes,
Oh right. I'm sorry, Cthulhu wasn't wearing underwear.
Pervert of
What the fuck?
Anyway, the luck roll is successful. So there is parachutes hanging up. There's 5 of them.
Thank God.
Okay.
That could have been horrible.
Potentially, but there are parachutes. Now, as far as I recall, the only person who's really trained in the use of parachutes is McQuilty.
Yep.
But you all
I'm
understand.
not calling you that.
You all understand the. Basically, you throw it on, and apparently there's a cord, and hopefully you live. Great.
Listen, if the other option is to go down in a fiery crash, I'm going to take the maybe this cord works, maybe it doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you gotta lose?
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there, while you're in the back, sorry, I'm just pouring myself a little bit of water as I ran out of coffee. Is there anything, you guys are in the back, yeah, you're all able to have a conversation if there's anything you'd like to talk about. Nothing wrong with some role playing. You're all quite good at it. So yeah. Fingers crossed on you. No, it's all good, it's all good.
Today's flight might be a bit
Oh my
bit
God.
turbulent, but it's nothing I might be able to handle. There might be seatbelts. I can't remember if I put them back in or not.
Roll me a luck roll! High good, high bad. Which one?
Hi, good.
High good, high good. No!
There are no seatbelts.
Can you roll me a d6, please? There are 3 seatbelts, so one of you is not in a seatbelt.
That can be Trish.
Trish
This is not her first helicopter
is holding
ride,
on
right?
to one of the mesh lining, is holding on, sort of probably half hanging out the open
Oh,
door
maybe,
slightly.
yeah. It's not her first
I
helicopter
love the
ride.
smell of napalm in the morning.
Actually, when I sent my original character design for this character to Zach, that's the subject line I have for the email.
It's true, actually. Yeah.
Hey. Fair enough. No. So you did actually rely. That was a D3. I mean, you're going to have a seatbelt.
Yeah.
And then 3 of the others, and just one person's left out, which is Trish. You're sort of hanging on to the mesh, looking out
You hadn't even
over
looked for
the
your seatbelts to begin
tops
with.
of the jungle, the cloud.
Careful what you say. This man's going to hold you to it.
And if I happen to fall asleep, there's a stick that you can poke me with. I'm just joking. I haven't fallen asleep in years behind the wheel.
I reach up and I kind of like smack him at the top of the head.
You're gonna smack the pilot.
Yeah.
Pay attention!
Fucking
Yes.
Canadians.
As you reach forward and smack him upside the head, up against the wall with like a bungee strap across it is a hockey stick that carved into it is wake up stick. Right? There's just a hockey stick there.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's terribly good.
Oh God,
Welcome back.
we're gonna get to bring out every Canadian trope, and it's gonna be great.
Glorious.
What are you on about? Anyway,
Help us.
yes. But anyway,
There is no God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Where did they find this guy?
Canada. That should tell you everything you need to know.
I didn't think they were fighting in this one.
don't forget, Carolyn's a military. Or ex-military.
Yeah. Sarge, have your unit was stationed here? Is that correct?
I was here for a little while, not in this area, but yeah, I took an injury, and by the time I was ready to go again, there was not really anywhere for me to go, so I stayed stateside for a little while.
I'm just surprised we're going in, and you seem to be the only military person with us. This is pretty off the books for you, I guess.
Oh, don't worry. I came well prepared. And she pats the M20 machine gun that she has sitting
M240.
in her lap.
Yeah.
You also notice that she has a .357 Magnum at her waist, a machete hanging off her pack. And she also has a shotgun sitting next to her on the floor.
Oh, it's a walking battalion right there.
We only need one. It'll be fine.
All right.
Amazing.
Trying to remember your last name. I should have written it down.
Me too.
Special Agent Albrecht.
Albrecht.
Special Agent Albrecht.
What is my last name?
Agent.
I haven't finished my coffee.
Agent Halbrecht, we're going in to get information about what happened at the hospital. Do you... we all left so quickly, and it was so... It was... All I know is that the offensive was moving in. There was mortar fire. There was explosions and fire. I don't... Do you think the building is even still there?
Well, I don't know if the building is still there or not. That's why we're going. But the reason for the expediency, and I noticed you're mentioning earlier of few armed guards with us. We have a very short window of opportunity where there is a minimal amount of on-the-ground combatants. So at this moment, unless information changes in the next couple of hours or days, this is the best chance to go in, not strike up a fight, but due to the recent nature of things, we have our sergeant here with us. So, to answer your question about expediency, that's why. To answer the building is standing, that is why we are here to answer that question. Which, I believe, if you are right, Nurse Harrison?
Yes.
If you would be so kind...
You can call me Carolyn.
Perhaps.
Well.
So, being that we're probably pretty close to where we're supposed to be.
You are not entirely sure. I'm going to, after we do a little bit of role playing here, I'm going to call for the proper navigation checks to see if the information that Carolyn has.
Okay.
Is,
Oh, we're on the
you
top.
should be
right
close. Couple hours tops.
Okay. So then, actually, so now that this conversation is spurred up, he'll go, actually, if you would be so kind, now that we're well on our way, would you be willing to kind of walk us here in the helicopter through perhaps little bits of about the facility that we might not know? Your experience there is greatly valuable. If you can tell us a little bit about what sort of patients were in the facility, a little bit about the space and what maybe we're hoping to find.
Well, I mean, it's a hospital, so you're going to find... yeah, I was working primarily in trauma care, so working with the boys who came in after getting shot at or getting into fights in the jungle. So we had a fair number of machete wounds, fair number fair number of boys coming in from explosions. But I mean, there were wards that we weren't allowed into. There were doctors who would show up one day that seemed to know absolutely everything about the place that we'd never seen before. And of course, there were a fair number of patients that were taken to areas of the hospital that were restricted or classified. So there's a fair amount that's happened at that hospital that I really don't know a lot about. My friend Jackie had a slightly higher clearance than me, went to a few, and all I know is that when she a few of the rooms of the hospital she worked in, she wouldn't tell us or didn't want to tell us what was going on there.
What was Nurse Jackie's last name?
Marsters.
Marsters.
Yeah, she didn't get out on the night that we evacuated, or at least I haven't heard from her since.
Thank you for that. Dr. Eakley, if you'd be so kind as to inform us what your specialization is.
Well, my curiosity is piqued about these other wards in the hospital, because there must be some chemical warfare going on for why I'm here. I got picked up by the DoD after my work at Edgewood Arsenal, which started up, I don't know if anybody knows this, after chemical warfare in World War I. Mustard gas, essentially. So since then, we've been trying to find non-lethal chemical weaponry. I'm assuming that's why I'm here.
Okay. I was just going to jump in with a little bit of information. Great job, by the way, everybody. Just because I've only given you so much information. Great job playing off of what, part of your background, your character, stuff like that. But I'm just going to give a little bit of base information you know about the hospital grounds. Okay, you know that this was basically, when you got there, you were surprised that it seemed to be a fully functioning hospital. It was a fairly large permanent structure. Okay, which had been, there's been different tents and add-ons, and a trailer connects to it, so it was a little bit of a ramshackle effort, but it was built around a standing structure. There was also a few Quonsets around the area which would hold a variety of different military equipment or what have you. Yeah, but it seemed to be in an open clearing in the jungle, and yeah. And just to lay off that thing. But yes, back, the other thing is, as Virginia mentions about the chemical warfare and stuff, one of the major things you started seeing in the months leading up to the evacuation of MTF 0087 of the hospital was that there was a lot of soldiers that were coming in apparently with some kind of progressive wasting disease. Okay, and they were usually always transferred pretty quick, but it was almost like their extreme pain, muscle collapse, stuff like that, right? Which chemical warfare was one of the things that you were thinking that could be some kind of new chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, Soren, continue.
So then, finishing off of your explanation, you'll go, so, being that we are in the midst of pulling out from of Vietnam here, and all records of the facility, particularly those parts that you don't know about, are either missing or have been destroyed or lost. We're just going to make sure that if the building is standing, that anything that can be taken that is of problem to national defense or any kind of weapons that may have been factored there are rendered inert.
But if there's records from treatment, we should bring those back. We should know we did treat people who seemed to have been suffering from chemical weapons. I saw chemical burns. I saw diseases I'd never seen before.
And that's where I'm stepping in, because that is what my mission is from the DoD, is to bring back as much information as possible as to what had happened at this hospital. And also to take any samples as well.
Well, we'll see what's left.
Any information is pertinent, but I mean, if it's destroyed, at least we know it's not going to get into the wrong hands.
Just out of curiosity, how exactly do you fight a war non-lethally? It seems like a bit of an oxymoron. Maybe it's just, me.
There are certain experiments, unfortunately, I cannot tell you, but there are ones that can render someone basically non-violent, I suppose, in a certain aspect. We're still in trials right now. It's fine.
Just taking the fun out of it. That sounds all right. And she
fun out of
turns
killing people?
And she just shrugs and turns and looks out the door again.
And at this point,
She's one of the. She's a sergeant.
Jarhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you're all getting along. At this point, McQuilty, Mick, I am going to require you to... Oh, actually, what is your percentage in navigation? Now, I don't think you have navigation.
I do not.
But that is fine. With the information that you shared, I should have did this earlier, but you share with McQuilty as you got into the helicopter about where he needs to fly to. Mick needs to make a navigation roll, but because he's getting detailed information, or as detailed as possible information from Carolyn R. Harrison, you get an extra plus 20% on your navigation roll. What is your navigation?
My navigation is 50.
So, roll me percentage, 70 or less. I've only been asking you for rolls lately, so new player syndrome.
Welcome to the...
Oh, a 91.
It's not... It could have been 4 points
You
worse.
have a lot of spare fuel. As you are flying around trying to get your bearings, and you got sort of like, there's the seat next to you where there's supposed to be a co-pilot,
Yeah.
and you have, instead there's like clothesline set up there where you normally do hang up your clothes, but you have like a map hang up there, and you're sort of looking out the window, and you're like holding up a protractor. It's just like
my
the ancient art of the Canadian navigation. Call it a sextant. But you know that you're a little bit lost, so you're going to be taking a little bit of time. Is there anything you would like to say to everybody?
It seems with some of the wind and fog, we're a little bit off course. We might take a little bit longer, but I'll get you there. Get you there in one piece. There's no problem.
I don't think that river is right.
Looking at
Yeah, you're looking at the map more than you're looking out. There's a river? Oh my. Yes. So, you know, like, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
This is more so far unfortunate, son, than it is fortunate.
Oh.
But it...
Followed. Okay, so basically it just means, because to me and the way I have things set up and the way I usually run games, timelines do matter. It means there is a delay for a while. There's only so many delays you can have before there's a fuel issue, and then you're just going to land anyway, right? I mean, that's what this is. I'm just going to say that gives a delay of around an hour. Okay. I would love to say 25 to 30 minutes, but no, that's not the case. It is a delay of around an hour. I know, actually, when you talk about fuel there is a certain point where you realize you will not have enough fuel to get back, right? Which means, but you are going to be in a settlement. There must be fuel.
Yeah.
Right? Right. There must be some fuel. You're not at the point yet of like, oh God, oh God. I will actually ask you to make another navigation roll after the hour to try to get yourself back on course and figure out where you are. I'm calling for a lot of rolls. It's the new player syndrome. I like let's get over that hump together.
Yep.
And you still have that plus 20%, so you're still sitting at a 70.
Okay.
And I love dice games, people.
Don't fuck
Let's
up,
see
don't
how it
fuck up, don't fuck up.
goes. 55. Before I forget, that first failed navigation roll.
Yep.
Could you put a little tick?
I was going to
Navigate.
ask about that.
Right? Even though I gave the plus 20%, I'm still going to, when you fail a roll, the way the XP system works in Delta Green, when you fail a roll, you put a tick in, and at the end of the session, there's no check to see if it increases. You just roll a d4 and you add it directly to the skill.
Nice.
Right? You learn from your failures.
Yep.
That's cool.
Right?
I love that shit.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough. So you sort of get back on course. Yes. Is there... I'm going to call for 2 checks, then I'm going to do a description. Okay, military science land. I believe 2 of you have it. I'm not sure if more than you do.
I do
No,
not.
I do not.
I believe Trish has a 40%, and McQuilty has
50.
a 50. Remember, because you're looking out that slightly open door, and you're flying, so roll your 50, roll your 40, let's see what happens. And then I'll describe why I'm asking for this roll.
23 at 40.
14% out of 50. So you both succeed on it. So what happens is, as you come... Oh, no, this matches up. Actually, when Carolyn mentioned the river, I believe it was you, right? You mentioned the river, and you looked on the map and was like, what river? Then you saw the river on the map, and it puts you right back onto the course you needed to be. You won't tell anyone that, though. But that's how this system works.
Like a wizard.
You see what appears to be, even though it's really foggy, A lot of clouds in the sky. It's really foggy, and it's sort of like you can see it's grown over a bit, but you do see a landing strip. It would be usually meant for smaller type of planes. It is mostly a landing strip for helicopters, so it doesn't need to be as long.
Yeah.
It's more squared, but it is a bit grown over. Okay. So we're going to land, and you can see what appears to be some of what appears to be a settlement a couple of clicks away from that landing area. You would assume, actually, with 2 successful military science land, which is useful for judging distances as well. I know I could have called for air, but I believe this works for what I need it to. And you can see, there's a couple of areas off that seems to have some stuff in it, but you do find this landing strip area. And both of you do manage to notice, which is great. You, being on the side, notice... I mean, you already know this, because you're a really good pilot. Is because of how it's grown over, this is going to be a difficult landing.
Okay.
This, but knowing that, what would you like to say now to the crew, to everybody?
Well, we're almost at our destination. It's just coming up. It might be a bit bumpy coming down. It looks really overgrown, but I'm pretty confident that I can get y'all down in one piece.
And you guys just see Trish take both of her hands and weave them into the mesh that's behind her and straighten her back against it. And just be like, here we go.
Make sure you're buckled up.
Yes. Okay. I need you to make me a pilot helicopter roll, which I believe, I know you're better at small prop planes, small single prop, but you do have a 50%
Yeah, 50.
in helicopter. There is no plus 20 or minus 20. It's just a straight up roll, and I'm sure I'll have to call a luck roll potentially for everybody. Now let's see, man. You've got this. Come on.
Do it.
Don't kill us before we even get there.
1%.
Are you serious?
Oh my god.
1%.
My man.
Smoothest landing ever.
You rolled a 1%. I'm going to do something that's not in the rules because that's the best you could possibly do it. Even though it was succeeded so well, I'm going to allow you to roll a d4 and immediately add it to that. I know that's not normally how this works, but how often do 1%s come up in situations where I was going to have the helicopter do this, and then y'all got to jump out, and it's going to be flames. Alright, roll me a d4, and
This
then
could
I'll
have been
start landing.
so
4!
And you got the full 4?
54.
Bro, when's the surgery? To get the golden horseshoe removed from your ass.
54. The year of the French with the Agrovilles.
Oh,
B888, baby! I don't know why I said it like that.
no,
I mean, I know normally to failure, I had just finished saying to failure, but that 1% is so perfect because you notice this, you're holding on to the mesh and you're looking out because you got to be looking out. And Mick comes in slightly not straight, and he uses the blades, even though this should not work, to cut through some of the softer vegetation near the canopy, and then sort of turns like a hummingbird, like it shouldn't move that way, and lands perfectly on the ground.
Surprised this is an ad for Canadians being awesome.
This whole show is an ad about Canadians.
That's fair.
You also notice then that Vic reaches over and just on top of one of the instrument panels, even though there's turbulence and everything, not in a cup holder, there's a styrofoam cup laid up there. And as soon as he finishes landing, he just reaches over and takes a sip of coffee and puts it back. As you land. See, in my notes it says, find an appropriate place to land. A really poor roll or fumble, crash. That's what I have wrote down.
Thank you for listening to The Call 1973. The next episode will premiere Tuesday, January 23rd at 6 p.m. on YouTube before going up in all of our audio services 1 hour later. Please join us for the community chat when that episode airs. Right after that episode airs, however, Derek, Lindsay, and myself will be listening to the very first episode of The Call and talking about it on Discord. Please go check out the Ko-fi update video for info on how to participate in that. Please give the podcast a like, thumbs up, or review. Give us your thoughts on the series so far in the comments, and don't forget to give that old merch shop a look on our main website one last time before January 19th. That's when the shop will be closing. Spacers has begun recording new episodes with the Cortex Prime system. Its air date will be announced once we have enough episodes to post. As usual, we'd love to thank all of our donators over on Ko-fi, including Matt Cowgill, Josiah, Rosa, Tyler, Quill, 3 Slugs in a Trench Coat, nice, TJ, D1193, Alex B, James, Noah, Alec, and Tavin. But again, please go and review the Ko-fi update video about changes starting from today, Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, onwards. Music and ambient tracks licensed through Triune Films and Artlist. Your players for tonight were Elizabeth Wells, Janessa Coles, Lindsay Delansky, Scott Gillis, and Zach Barrett. Your GM or keeper was Derek Snow. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.